citizen. You follow the laws, pay your taxes, and work your ass off. And you want the USA to be the USA. This is Paul Davis Uncanceled. A show for patriots by patriots, fighting against government tyranny and the globalist agenda. Cancel this. It's time to get fired up and stay fired up. This is Paul Davis Uncanceled. And here comes the fired up Texas lawyer himself, Paul Davis. Paul Davis.
All right. Let's turn that music down there. There we go. All right, still getting used to that intro. All right, we got a whopping one viewer on. So whoever that is, thank you for watching. I guess we didn't market this episode a whole lot this week, but hopefully we'll get some more views on the recorded version. So it's been 2 weeks since our last broadcast. Welcome to episode 6 of Paul Davis Uncanceled. So 2 weeks ago, we had on Gail Seiler to tell her incredible story. I mean, if you didn't get a chance to watch the last episode or listen to the last episode, I mean, that was a crazy story about how she escaped from certain death by remdesivir ventilation protocol at Medical City Hospital in Plano, and lived to tell about it. So, I think the first few minutes got cut off. We had a technical difficulty, but all you're really missing out is me laughing at my own jokes in the opening monologue and telling stories from my childhood. So Medical City literally tried to murder Gail by depriving her of water, nutrition, trying to force her on the ventilator, and not for her heroic husband and some efforts by yours truly, I might add, to bust her out of the ICU and into home care, when she would not have survived. Tonight we're going to continue on that same topic. We have our guest Matthew Nolan, who also narrowly escaped death in the hospital with COVID, and I think possibly I understand one or more of his organs were removed, maybe even harvested in the process. So we'll get his crazy story here in a minute. Matthew's also a lawyer, so we'll get his take on how what he's doing to legally hold the hospital accountable for this. I personally do not practice healthcare law, so but I understand it's very difficult to sue hospitals, and I could be wrong, but I'm not aware of anybody who has successfully done it to date. What has been done successfully, though, is suing employers for denying religious or medical exemptions from the vaccines. Last week, there were headlines about Liberty Counsel winning a $10 million settlement against the hospital system in Illinois. I made a video about that on my social media today. What you need to know is that if you get fired for after requesting a religious or medical exemption, you're most likely eligible to get damages from your employer for that. And I've actually been involved in several settlement negotiations recently and mediations, and we settled a case without having to file a lawsuit for $50,000. We've got another settlement offer to go for $30,000, which we turned down because we know we can more at trial. And this might seem like potatoes compared to a $10 million settlement in that case, but you have to realize that was a class action lawsuit with over 500 employees. So each one of them only got $25,000 for getting fired for refusing to get a bioweapon into their body. So that just goes to show you that you don't need to be in a class action lawsuit. It's a lot for Liberty Counsel to get compensation wrongly terminated. You just need somebody who knows the laws. For instance, I've been practicing law for about 10 years, and we're working these out, getting settlements from clients. There are we've gotten those offers are higher than those guys in that law. So. As most, if you need help, if you got fired for Monday, then go to firefirealert.com. So as some of you know, I've been busy with the First Amendment lawsuit against school board president, cops dragging her political opponents from the board meeting in April, which I'm going to get to in a second here. Today, I also want to know I knew it was new. It's starting my mistakes. He does have to job. very excited to have it. So immediately look for anything articulates again on creative issues, vaccine mandates. But bring out Nolan to tell his story. Just a brief update on the McKinney lawsuit. I've learned so much the last couple of weeks working on this. So I share some of my knowledge with all of you who may be interested in how the Constitution, how constitutional law works in this context. So I'm sure if you're watching live right now, you probably are familiar with what happened in McKinney, but not basically Amy Dankel, the president, had she had announced the meeting that nobody could wait during the meeting and speaking at the microphone. You could clap, you could not make any kind of comments. So basically, all you could do if you agreed with what the person said is raise your hand. It's kind of like being in kindergarten. And so everybody on both sides of the issue, which people are wearing green, and people on the other side who want sexually explicit books. We've seen books in our schools, which I can't even still blows my mind when people are okay with that. It's just where we're at as a society. It's shocking. But they were making noise. They were clapping just as much as our people. None of them got removed. And our people got dragged out, kicking and screaming by the cops. Very disturbing to watch. I've never seen anything like it. And so only the people who opposed Amy Dankel's view on the books got dragged out. So we sued them for violating First Amendment rights. In my mind, like I'm a plaintiff's attorney now, right? Usually I'm the one doing the suing. In the past, I was a defense attorney, and I was representing corporations when they got sued and defending people. But what plaintiff's attorneys typically do is you kind of find all the different theories, all the causes of action that you can sue somebody for, and you see what sticks. So we sued them for violating First Amendment rights with these draconian restrictions. Like you can't clap, you can't say anything at all in response to a public speaker. Seemed a bit excessive. You couldn't bring signs into the meeting, things like that. So and the size of the meeting room was arbitrarily restricted, and so we sued for just arbitrary and unreasonable restrictions on First Amendment rights was one thing. And then the police dragging people out, like grabbing them forcefully. We sued for using excessive force. We also sued for viewpoint discrimination under the Equal Protection Clause of the Constitution, which means that says the law, you have to be treated the same as other similarly situated people. So in the last few weeks, I've been really, really busy because the defendants filed 3 separate motions to dismiss, and that set off. I had to research heavily each issue, break it down. It's a very tedious process, and I spent about well over 60 hours on that. And I just want to say thank you if you donated to support us, because I would not have made it through this last month without your donation. Like we actually the law firm took a slight loss, because of that. We had to write off a lot of legal fees. So if you support our lawsuit, we're going to make it past the motion to dismiss stage. I know we will. Today, we filed a second amended complaint. And the reason we did that, and this is what I learned, which I thought was really interesting. So in a school board meeting like that, it's called, under constitutional law, they call it a limited purpose public forum. So, you're familiar with the First Amendment, the right to free speech. If you're in like a public park or like someplace that's a traditional public forum, you have much more free speech rights. But if you're in a limited purpose public forum, which is a place that the government just opens up for a specific purpose, here it was for a school board meeting, then the government actually has the right to make some pretty severe rules, which I did not know previously. I haven't delved deep into First Amendment issues. I've practiced a lot of civil rights, but I'm learning this particular issue as I go. So it might surprise you to learn it is actually legal for school board presidents to impose these, rules of decorum, and it's very difficult to get those struck down under current case law. And then the standard for police excessive force is really, really high. And also, police officers get qualified immunity. But here's the kicker. We can prove that they targeted our people, Amy Dankel, the school board president, Robert Montgomery, the head of security, and the police officers targeted our clients because of their viewpoint. And if you are a public official and you have somebody removed from a meeting because of their viewpoint, that goes against the Equal Protection Clause, which we had sued for, but it also goes straight up against the First Amendment to the Constitution, because you cannot apply content neutral. So if you have her rules, they didn't specifically apply to anybody, but it's because they applied the rules unevenly. That is a First Amendment violation. So basically what we did is we filed a new complaint, just sticking with that viewpoint discrimination claim, and that should defeat all the motions to dismiss, and we should be able to move forward with that. So that's the good news. This lawsuit, I would be shocked if it got dismissed. I really don't think that's going to happen. But the bad news is that we're out of money. So to keep this lawsuit going, we're going to need some more support. So go to givesendgo.com/fightmisd, and we could use your help, or this lawsuit's going to get dismissed. So I'm going to bring on Matthew Nolan here to tell his story. First, just really briefly, it's never good when your nation's supposed economic authority on economic policy completely misses all the flashing red lights, all the warning signs about impending inflation. And now Janet Yellen, our Treasury Secretary, has admitted finally there have been unanticipated and large shocks to the economy that boosted energy and food prices and supply bottlenecks that affected our economy badly, that I didn't at the time fully understand. I mean, how comforting is that? Our Treasury Secretary missed all these flashing red signs. But who understood the real threat of inflation is people who have invested in gold and silver with Birch Gold Group. They're protecting their savings from a highly turbulent economy by diversifying their 401k or IRA into gold. And it's not too late for you to take action now. So you can go to birchgold.com/uncanceled. That's uncanceled with 2 L's, just like you see on the screen. And you can get a free no obligation kit today to protect your savings with gold. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on Matthew Nolan to tell his story. So let's see. I'm on my own. My producer is off this week, so I'm learning as I go. So Matthew, thank you for coming on tonight.
Hello. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So tell us kind of a little bit who you are, where you live, what you do. Just give us a little background on you.
Okay. I'm Matthew Nolan. I live in Minnesota. I am an attorney since 2008. My practice areas are primarily business related, transactional. Okay. Trademark, copyright, business startup, this type of just general business things. So in November, I had a tremendous pain in my abdomen and went into the hospital, where they found out I had coronavirus. And that's when this thing took a crazy turn. It was actually the same hospital where Ann Quiner's husband, Scott Quiner, was at the same time as he was there. We were both there.
Oh, you were there. So if you're watching or listening and you don't know who Scott Quiner was, he was the gentleman who sadly passed away because this Mercy Hospital was starving him to death, and they had to bust him out of there with a court order. They had to get a temporary restraining order to get him out of that. First to keep the hospital from pulling the plug on him. They had literally scheduled. Outrageous. They had scheduled his death because, as we reported on the last show, if you have COVID, you die in the hospital with COVID, the hospital gets a lot of money. They actually get a 20% bonus for that on top of everything else that they get for if they treat you with remdesivir, if they put you on the ventilator. So they had to life flight Scott out of Minnesota to Texas. Dr. Verone, who I've worked with in Houston, he's a fantastic doctor, was his attending physician when they got him out. But sadly, Scott Quiner, he died of not COVID. He died of malnutrition because they starved him to death. I think he'd lost you probably know the details better than me, but he lost something like 50 pounds. So that's the hospital that you were at. 30. Okay. Yeah. How much was it?
35.
35 pounds. Wow. That's insane.
I looked like Matthew McConaughey in Dallas Buyers Club when I got out of there.
Wow. So what weight did you lose?
I think 35 pounds about.
Oh, you lost 35 pounds. Okay. Gotcha. I thought we were talking about Scott Quiner. Okay. So yeah, tell us. So how did this all start? You had, that sounds, I hadn't heard of people coming down with pain in their abdomen as a first symptom of COVID.
It is a first symptom of COVID it was typical of a certain one of the strains. I'm not sure which one. They don't tell you which strain you get when you get tested, but it did cause intestinal problems. And the hospital knew it caused intestinal problems because I spoke with them and they were like, I said, I think coronavirus kicked off some kind of intestinal problem. And they're like, yeah, we've seen that. And then I was
You
like,
know
well,
what? You know what? That's interesting because actually, when I had COVID, I had really bad GI problems. That was like the first thing. I didn't even know it was COVID because I didn't associate GI problems with COVID, but I had a horrible stomach ache. I had no appetite. Like I had other issues that, I'm sure our listeners don't want to know. But that's
it was
interesting.
well
I did not know
documented.
that.
It
Okay.
was well
Wow.
documented. It has been known. And specifically,
Uh-huh.
this hospital knew. Oh, yeah,
Wow.
coronavirus
Okay.
kicks off an intestinal problem. Okay, so
Hmm.
can I have Regeneron? No. Can I have vitamin D? No. Can I have ivermectin? No. No steps were taken to
Ivermectin was
create,
probably a hell no, right?
no steps were taken. Well, I'll tell that story about the ivermectin too, because that's
All
really,
right.
I
All
think,
right.
one of the big essences of my project here.
All right.
No steps were taken to break the link between coronavirus and the inflammation it causes and the intestinal problem. They
Mm-hmm.
were really pushing me hard towards a surgery. You were claiming that if I didn't get the surgery, I would die, but also that I couldn't leave because I wouldn't get help anywhere. My thinking is that's duress. you, you have to get the surgery or you'll die. And guess what? We're not going to get any care anywhere else, and we're not going to do anything to try and stop this inflammation.
That's so typical. I've seen that all the time, and even with stuff that's not related to COVID. People think that hospitals are in business to save your life, to make you healthy. They're not. They're just in business to make money, like any other business. And I mean, I could give, I won't go on too much of a tangent here, but like about a couple months ago, I had a horrible, just horrible pain, like GI pain, and had to go to the ER. It ended up being because I overdosed on emergency. Foolishly, I had like, yeah, I had like I've had in my life. I was up late working, and all of a sudden, it was just like boom. I felt like I was going to explode. It was literally the worst pain I've ever felt in my life, and I fought it off for like an hour, no, 2 hours. I was taking everything I knew to take, Gas X, charcoal. I was just downing it. Nothing helped, and finally, I called my mom. I was just like, I have to go to the emergency room. And it was like 1 a.m. And I get in there and like, I'm thinking like, what did I eat today? All this stuff. They did a whole MR, like a CT scan. And then they come back in and I had figured it out. I was like, I had 6 emergency packs today. I wasn't even thinking. And I had all these testimonies of people that had very similar symptoms. So I show that to the doctor. I'm like, I think I figured it out. I overdosed on emergency. And he was like, oh, no. I don't think that's what it is. I really think that you have appendicitis and you need to check into general surgery. And it's like, that's like their first, instinct, get you into surgery. It's ridiculous.
Right.
And it sounds like that's what they're trying to do to you too.
That is what they did do to me. They ended up taking out about 7 inches of some of my innards. They
Like
cut
your intestine?
colon.
Your colon. Wow. Okay.
7 inches, I think, 19 centimeters, whatever that equals. I suspect that I think I was over the hump. I mean, one of the doctors at the beginning was saying, well, people frequently recover from a bowel perforation, which is what they were thinking it was.
Mm-hmm.
So, okay, well, let me recover then. And they're pushing me harder and harder. They claim I'm getting worse and worse. I think I was cresting the wave and getting sicker and sicker. And if I didn't have the surgery, I would definitely die. Mm-hmm. One of the doctors said exactly to me, well, check out and die then, when I tried to tell him I want the Regeneron because I want to get the best possible chance of not having this horrible surgery. The surgery was horrible. And they opened up a 11-inch long incision in my abdomen. Go home if you're watching this, get yourself and measure 11 inches on your abdomen and see what that is. It is the whole thing. They prepared me for dinner. They opened this whole thing up. Rather than use any kind of sense in, trying to weigh the cost and benefit, it's no Regeneron, no this, no that. Check out and die if you don't like it. Oh, and by the way, you're not going to get any care anywhere else, supposedly. And this is it. You have to do this.
Which is, sadly, that's probably true the way our hospitals are, that you aren't going to get any care in any hospital, at least, because they're going to try to.
May or may not be true. May or may not be true. I think it's duress. That's one of my claims.
Sure.
Then they send me into surgery after all of this with a variety of mistreatment along the way. You know, doctors being nasty, nurses being nasty. I think
Like, what were some of the things they said to you?
well, if you wanted Regeneron, why didn't you get the vaccine then?
Of course.
Which leads me to believe I'm being discriminated against on the basis of my vaccination status. So I think if we get discovery, we could see this. So I think that could be Minnesota has a Minnesota civil rights law. So I think that could be an element of that. I'm not sure how supportive the courts would be, but I live in Anoka County, and I've seen that the courts have been. The Anoka County is where Ann Quiner's case was. So Anoka County courts seem to be at least slightly aware of what's going on here. So I think that's a potential benefit. You know,
Do you know, has Ann Quiner taken any subsequent legal action other than just the injunctive relief to get her husband out of the hospital? Do you know?
Before we continue, Paul, your microphone's been changing. The first 5 minutes, it was lots of echo and buzz.
Oh, okay. Okay.
And then there was no echo and buzz. There was none for a while, but there was a delay. And now your lips and the sound are on.
Okay. I can
Their
fix
buzz
it.
came
Hold
back.
on. Give me a second.
I just wanted to let you know so the whole episode wasn't.
No, I appreciate it. I'm gonna have to take this microphone back because it's obviously not working. Let's see, that's the camera. Sorry, y'all, give me just 2 seconds here. Just gotta
Now the
switch
sound
mics.
is great. Every time you now the
That's
sound's
weird.
perfect.
So how's that? How's that sound? Can you hear me?
I can hear you well. It's a little bit less loud, but it's not buzzing.
Okay. Well, we'll just go with that then. I'll just try to talk louder. Sorry about that, y'all. I don't know what the deal is with this microphone. Just gonna unplug it. So, okay, and I'll scoot closer. All right, go ahead. I forgot where we were at.
Okay, so I get there. I'm in like tremendous pain, like 9 out of 10 on the scale. They say I'm getting sicker and sicker, that I have to have this surgery. They're claiming I'm near sepsis. The thing is, I think they measure the precalcitonin levels. I don't know all what this means, just to determine how close you are to sepsis. So having coronavirus contributes a little bit to sepsis, and having an intestinal thing contributes a little bit. So I don't know how they added that up, but I suspect they added it up to equal. We get to do a surgery on you and charge a ton of money. That's my thinking. Yeah. Send me into the surgery that I did not want to have. Left me with this massive scar, completely separated my abs, dig around in my guts, sew me back up. Now, let me just backtrack a little. I started off at Unity Hospital, then they moved me over to Mercy for the surgery. When I was at Unity, my dad dropped off some bags. The administrator there lied to him. I suspect it's a lie, saying, "Oh, I'm sorry, I agree with you, but that's our policy. You know, you can't get Regeneron or whatever. Just leave your bags with me. I'll take them up to your son." She searched them, and they found ivermectin. Okay. So they say, we searched them, and we confiscated it. Now,
because ivermectin is such a dangerous drug.
I suspect that. I mean, I don't know if that sounds out of line to me. I don't know if they'll be able to get away with it. But then they used it as an opportunity to try and search my room. So she says, "Can I search your room?" And I said, "No." And at this time, the security is like standing outside while she's asking me, this horrible administrator. I say, "No, they don't search my room." So even they accepted that I have a expectation of privacy in my room, even though they search my bags, which I suspect is not going to fly. Then they moved me to Mercy, where I'm going to have the surgery the following morning. I get to Mercy, and they do it again. The nurse comes in and says, "Can I search your bags?" I said, "No." And then she proceeds to pick my bags up from where they were, like this, and dig around, look right there. I'm like, "Hey, cut it out." She's like, "I didn't search your bag," then goes outside and tells the security, "Oh, I'm sorry, he wouldn't let me." Okay, so all this happened. There's a camera there. I don't know how long they keep those videos, but this was filmed, and I'm willing to testify, and testimony is evidence, and I'm clear on this, that this happened. So I'm seeing duress, fraud in the inducement, potentially, Minnesota civil rights violations for intrusion upon seclusion. So far,
Okay.
that's where we're at.
Okay. Did she take? Did you have ivermectin in the bag at the time, and she took it out?
I had it in the bags my dad dropped off. She took it out and kept it.
And
I say is both civil and criminal theft, which I want to pursue against them as well.
Yeah, there you go.
That's what I think it is. So I think we got some things here really going for this case.
Mm-hmm.
In addition, they did a garbage job sewing, and I did not realize that I had a essentially 12-inch long incisional hernia.
Oh man!
That had
So they botched the surgery too.
They botched the yeah they botched the surgery as well.
That you probably didn't need.
I really think there's a chance, a very good chance, I did not need the surgery. And even if I did need the surgery, this still doesn't exempt them from giving me the chance to avoid it, which was Regeneron. I think I was right on the cusp. I think I was cresting the wave. If I could get my blood work and stuff from the morning of the surgery, if they took it, I think we'd see the precalcitonin levels way, way down, that I was already past. But they already got me. So they're going ahead with a $150,000 surgery. This is my theory of the case. Okay.
Yeah.
So then I get out of the surgery, go back to the room. And this was really strange. No experience with this. I haven't done many surgeries. I haven't been near death more than just this one time. I get to the room and they're like, me walk from the bed to the other bed. When I got the surgery fixed, when I had this, it was a 7-hour-long procedure to fix what they messed up. They spent 3 hours doing it. This guy who fixed it spent 7 hours doing it. When they moved me from one bed to the other, they put me on this inflatable mattress thing. Have you ever seen this?
No.
It's like a blanket of plastic. They fill it up with air and then they grab you. All the people grab you and lower you onto the bed, and it acts like a cushion. The air leaks out slowly and lowers you softly. So they're taking much greater care to do this. So none of that tough stuff was done. It made me move myself around, even though I'd just been cut open. It was painful. I think that they did like the least possible number of stitches or something, because the stitches failed before I was done with my meds, and they only gave me enough meds for 1 day when they discharged me. And crazy stuff. So I had to like beg for more meds. They denied me. Tried to vaccinate me like days after the surgery. Like, I'm recovering and you're trying to hit me again with more bodily dysfunction while denying me pain meds.
What?
And this thing was just so crazy. So I think what you said earlier is right about people suing the hospitals. I think some of what's been done here is actually taking the people out from under the umbrella of the hospitals and just pursue claims against them individually. I mean, unless it's the policy of the hospital to permit their staff to steal stuff from their patients, I think I can pursue claims individually. I think also the failure of these stitches within a matter of days after the surgery, I think I'm getting towards negligence, first presumption of negligence territory there. I used to climb rock and ice recreationally, and my rope knot came untied is not a acceptable defense. Every knot in the hole, and that's just all there is to it. So it was a disaster. Had to go get the whole thing repaired. Biggest hernia repair the guy had ever done. He bought a special piece of mesh to fit, and it was too small. He said they had to have someone run around the hospital, find the biggest piece of mesh they could get, 8 inches by 12 inches. It's bigger than a piece of letter paper to fix what they failed to do. And then a bunch of other stuff I don't want to get into about the nature of your intestines when they've been in that shape that they're not supposed to be. Enormous pain, completely incapacitated with pain for, I don't even know, had to be some order of 30 plus hours, unable to move, unable to stand. At this other hospital, they used 2 nurses to help me stand. At Mercy, 0 nurses. You stand on your own or you don't stand. So just the level of care was horrendous up there. I think these people need to get their chain yanked, and I need some help with the financing to do whatever I can do to try and make that happen, because they are running wild. And of course, Scott Kleiner's case is the most outrageous of that. They
Yeah,
think they can just kill a man. Oh
I
well,
know.
it's our policy that he goes off the ventilator.
So,
Unbelievable.
I think that's what I asked you when we were trying to fix my sound issue. Are you aware of has Annie Quiner tried to bring a lawsuit against the hospital for killing her husband?
I speak to Anne regularly,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm always careful as an attorney. I sometimes don't. I want to make sure that things told to me aren't told to me in confidence in the attorney-client way.
Sure,
So I can't
but
say
nothing's been filed publicly, though. You can say that.
it's been filed publicly. That's correct.
Okay. Okay.
So
Okay.
I'd like to
Gotcha. Well,
file
I mean,
something publicly.
it just disturbs me. I haven't really heard of any of these hospitals getting sued for killing somebody with the remdesivir and ventilator protocol. Are you aware of
The
any cases like
remdesivir,
that?
well, I did talk to a guy. So I'm hoping that what my case does is coalesce the right attorneys for this job. So I'm
Mhm.
working to try and build this group, because I'm not
Sure.
a litigator, and I'm certainly not a med mal litigator. So
Right.
I'm hoping that this is an opportunity. That's why I'm trying to raise the money, because normally med mal people only work on contingency. So
Yes,
they only go
exactly.
after cases with real big recoveries. So
Mhm.
I'm trying to supplement with your contributions so that I can get some skilled people to kind of pursue this. And I've learned a lot of things about it. One of them is that in Minnesota, the medical attorneys are hesitant to do anything against hospitals because they rely on them to do negotiations. So I talked to a guy who
Mhm.
didn't want to be named, and he said, "No, I don't want anything to do with this. I'm getting a position in this organization. I won't say what it is. I don't want to get blacklisted by Alina because I have to deal with them." So there's a real screwed up landscape out here.
Yeah,
I
no,
talked
that's
to
for sure.
I talked to a med mal litigator out of Florida, and we spoke. This is another attorney with a podcast. I was just calling them to get help advertising, but they were interested in potentially looking into it. He told me that the problem with the remdesivir lawsuits is that many states have passed laws that say any federally approved treatment they have immunity from liability on. So that's why the remdesivir cases are really going to require people to move mountains. I
Mhm.
don't think they gave me remdesivir through my notes. I don't see it in there. I did have kidney issues as a result of whatever was going on in that scenario. I think it's very possible they gave me remdesivir or some other similar thing. You know, so it's going to take. I think it's going to take some creative lawyering. I think it's going to take some just all levels. You know, there's going to be all levels of people involved. What I'm hoping to accomplish with my case is to try and set up what I would consider like a minimally viable strategy,
Mhm.
potentially one that individuals could pursue. Because I think, as you know, as an attorney, facing a pro se uh, opposing party is brutal.
Oh yeah, no, for sure. But the thing is, and this is something I'm trying to do now. I mean, there's just not. I mean, you mentioned it. There's not enough attorneys to go around that take these types of cases,
Right,
that take any conservative type of case. Because you get
right.
brutally attacked. I mean, taking this McKinney case, I had to spend 5 days defending a frivolous bar grievance filed against me that contained multiple lies, and it's just they'll just do anything they can to take you down. And so my thought is I really want to start teaching people how to be their own lawyers, on just very
Mhm.
specific issues, because there's a need for that. There's just not enough to go around. So I'm kind of working
It's also
on
very
some
taxing
webinars and
on
stuff
the
like that.
yeah. It's also very taxing on the other side to
Yeah.
have to face a pro se client. So for people who don't, for the listeners who might not be lawyers, normally you get a client come to you, pays you, you listen to their story, and you're hearing their whole story, and you're asking yourself, okay, that's negligence. That story is a claim upon which relief cannot be granted. That's a crime. That's a whatever. And that's a lot of work, listening to the
Yeah.
person, hearing all their stuff, getting it all sorted out. If you're a pro se
Mhm.
client, and you sue the opposing counsel. Basically, what most people do is they just write that stuff down and send it. And it has no organization. The
Yeah.
claims are not paragraph by paragraph. And when you get it as the opposing counsel, now you have to listen to your client and sort out what they're saying. And now you got to read this guy's thing and sort out what he's saying. It's twice as much work. So I'm hoping to empower people to do some more pro se stuff. One of those things is, there's a process for disciplinary actions against doctors and nurses and anyone who's licensed. So these are all avenues I'm going to pursue. What I'm hoping to, one of the things I want to do is, to the extent possible, make the documents available so that people can copy. I know that there was a guy here in Anoka County, same thing, Alina Hospital. This hospital is horrible. Who went in with a face shield, because the face shield is what the CDC, face shield or mask. Went into Alina and they said mask only or you can't be here. He sued, but he didn't allege damages. So his case was dismissed. This would have been a simple matter of alleging some damages. And then that guy wouldn't have been much, but it still would cost them. And it did cost them. So this is a good thing. Pro se clients who are doing their own thing are really doing a service. So I'm trying to create this like minimally viable strategy that people can copy.
Yeah.
And see what we can get done, because I don't think they are as heavily insulated as they believe they are. And I think they need to learn that lesson.
Yeah, no, I hope you're right about that. It really frustrates me because they do seem, somewhat, pretty heavily insulated. It seems like to me, just because, and the evidence is there's not enough, no lawyers will take these cases. And it's, I can tell you in Texas, we have really severe limits on what you can get on MedMal. I think it's something like, I remember when I was looking at getting LASIK, I was like, maybe I should go to another state to get LASIK, because if they like screw up my vision, the most I can get is like $200,000 or something like that. And it's like, if I can't see $250,000, that's not enough to compensate. And it's just,
no, that's the case here. Yeah, that's the case here as well. But I think it's for a limited number of hospitals. It's like, there's hospitals where if you show up, they have to treat you no matter what it is. You could have cancer,
Right.
you could have whatever. And that's some kind of statutory thing. And then for that reason, they limit their recovery. But I don't think Alina is one of those hospitals. I actually don't think they've built one of those hospitals or licensed or whatever they call it to give them that for like years. I don't think those have been built in the US in like a long time. So Alina, I think it might just be a for-profit or a non-profit hospital. I don't think they benefit from the same protection as one of these big general hospital, county hospitals that have that. And that's exactly what it is in Minnesota. It's a $250,000 limit. The big one in St. Paul is like that. I think it's Regions Medical Center. That is not Alina. And another thing that Alina did, hospital and Unity Hospital, is they didn't give Regeneron, and they based it on a policy that was more restrictive than the CDC policy. So they took it on themselves to be more restrictive. They're really pushing it up there.
Man. So what was the excuse they gave you when you asked for Regeneron? Why wouldn't they give it to you?
Oh, the administrator said anyone in the hospital could give it to me. Any doctor could, but no one will. Her exact words. There was no reason. It was just anyone here could, just no one will. It's our policy. The same way they were going to kill.
Yeah.
Same way they were going to kill Scott Kleiner. Oh, we're taking him. He's not recovering. We're going to kill him. Take him off of life support. That's our policy. I don't buy it.
That is crazy. It just seems like the rule is, if it's something that will actually heal you, then you don't get it. Because my guest last time, Gail Seiler, they did give her what's the nasal steroid, budesonide, and she started to get better. And her attending physician was like, "Wow, I've never seen anybody improve this way." She's like, "Well, can you imagine how much I'd improve if you gave me the proper dosage?" And then they just took her off of it because she was improving. And it's just, the point is to kill you and get the money. So it's really sad. It's really sad just that our hospitals are in this state, and there seems to be little to nothing we can do about it. Because, even if you can recover against a hospital, it takes a tremendous amount of money to do that. I've had to turn people away, and it's heartbreaking. And thinking of one person in particular that was basically begging me to sue the hospital that killed her husband, and I felt horrible because I was like, I'd love to hold them accountable, but you're gonna have to. This is gonna cost $100,000. I mean, you're gonna have to
Right.
hire multiple medical experts, and then we have to battle against their experts, and then at the end of the day, you might only get $250,000. I mean, it's not worth it. It's crazy what they can do and just get away with it. There's no criminal liability. I mean, it's crazy.
I hear what you're saying. I also do some nonprofit work, and I do 501c7 social clubs for like motorcycle clubs. So I take some inspiration from them. And these are tough guys. And they say, we always stand up for each other, and the outcome is irrelevant. The point is to fight. The outcome is irrelevant. So I take some inspiration from them and say, we really got to create friction for these people to happen. And I think they are capable of having friction applied. I don't think they've ever suffered any kind of a consequence. I think any little consequence is really going to shock them. I know that people were calling the hospital when they were about to kill Scott Quiner, and that I have it on some good authority that people were scared up there, that people were pissed, as you can expect they would be. You can't just go killing people left and right and not get people upset. And some of those people don't have great impulse control, and they were letting them know. And that created something. It wasn't legal recovery. It wasn't what we'd call a winning lawsuit. But I think all of these things contribute. Without some friction applied, I mean, nothing's going to happen. So I'm not looking at it from the perspective of it would be great to get the money back and maybe use it. Maybe if I was overfunded to do a C3 or something on this order, try and empower people to do their lawsuits, fight, win or lose. It hurts them. I also have heard there's been a little bit of a kind of community growing here. I'm not sure I'm supposed to identify who is in it, but some people are political types, and I've heard from people in this group that even Ann's injunction against the hospital resulted in the hospital taking action to try and avoid being in that situation again. And she wasn't even going after them specifically. So I think going after them could produce some outsized results.
Yeah. I mean, a lot of times the answer is not necessarily a legal answer. People want to go to the courts first thing, and there's practical things you can do, like having a campaign to call the hospitals and harass them. I mean, I understand hundreds of thousands of people were calling, and that made a huge difference. So
that's another thing I'm trying to do. Practical things like that. One of them is the disciplinary actions. I mean, that cuts both ways. They do. They say you need to get your bar. Deal with that. I mean, I don't know. I mean, I suppose the board could stand up for this guy who told me to check out and die if they really want to do that. It seems like a mistake, or the nurse who wouldn't help me out of the bed, or the administrator who's just stealing stuff from patients based on their vaccination status. We'll see if they are, how it's going to go. But, I mean, it's wild.
I mean, I think one of the answers is we just need to really change the structure of how healthcare is funded and paid for, because obviously the way it's going now and all the incentives, it's just a perverse incentive. It's like, in this scenario with COVID, the hospitals actually have a financial incentive to not heal you, but kill you. And then they have all these incentives to give you unnecessary surgeries, like, potentially your colon surgery, and then trying to remove my appendix when I obviously did not need appendicitis. You did not have appendicitis, and it's just,
these are not without risk. These are like dangerous. You just can't. Just get a surgery. That's not how it works. It's dangerous.
Exactly. Well, and the most common surgeries in the United States are like gallbladder, appendectomy. What is the other one? Tonsillectomy. Right. Because those are all things that they can take from your body and you can still live, but they get paid a large sum of money for it. So, one thing I encourage people to check out is this company I found is Get Mighty Well. It's actually one of my sponsors that I work with, but it's if you go to, I think it's getmightywell.com/uncanceled. They have health insurance where you pay a cash price. So it's like the hospital is not going to make all this money off of you through insurance. And so you're like, well, what's the cash price? And it's incredible because surgeries that they would get paid, that they would charge your insurance and charge you, $80,000 only actually costs like $7,000,
Mhm.
And so it's like, all right, well, I'll pay that. And then there's ways they will educate you on like how to protect yourself. Like you sign, like all the paperwork they give you, you can put, I agree to pay the usual and customary cash price for this. And then they can't charge you more for that. And then, they don't, that if we start doing things like that, it will revolutionize the healthcare system. So that's another thing that people can do is just get some type of indemnity plan that's not through Get Mighty Well, that's not a traditional health insurance plan. So
Are you saying
there are things that people are
Mighty?
doing. Yeah, it's here, I'll put it in the comments. I think it's
Well, I have been wanting to pursue that type of thing as well.
yeah, it's getmightywell.com, and it's slash uncanceled is our specific link. And I've been very happy with them. So yeah, well, I'll give you the last word. Any other things you want to share with our audience? Calls to action? Anything you can think of?
Well, I was talking to an older lady who I know, and she was like, "Thank God I live in a red state." She lives way out in western Nebraska. I said, did they do surgery at the hospital near you? No, they fly you to Omaha. I said, I guarantee you get flown to Omaha, you're going to be in the situation. And I said that all of these little hospitals, everywhere you go, are just islands of American communism. And together, this is like the new Gulag archipelago. If you get caught up in there, you are under their control. I have to ask myself, would I prefer to be healthy and in jail, or unhealthy and in the hospital? It's really bad. Really, no one is safe. I think it's important for people to realize they should be taking measures, understanding that their rights are getting thrown out the window as soon as they get in there, and it's trying to prepare. And what I'm hoping to do with givesendgo.com/no mercy is to do some of these practical things, some of these legal things. I don't think they're prepared for an onslaught. I think they've had it easy for a long time. Yes, they're insulated. I don't think they're as heavily insulated as they think they are. And so with your help, I'd like to test out some theories.
Yeah, great. Awesome. Well, thank you for doing that. And it's kind of similar to what I'm trying to do with empowering people to bring their own lawsuits, because there aren't enough lawyers to go around. But if we get more people empowered to do that, then these hospitals are going to start thinking twice when they're facing tons of lawsuits, because it's like right now they're like, oh, nothing's going to happen because nobody can find a lawyer to do this. But then when we the people are empowered and have the tools, then it's going to change the landscape, I think.
Pro se litigants really do have an advantage. The court really bends over backwards for them. I was just telling a client earlier today, I one time sued the cable company here in town. They overcharged me $380 for something. I'm like, you know what? I got the small claims court form. I said I want $380. I sent it to the registered office address. I said, give me $380 in 2 weeks. I'm going to file this form. Why? Because it cost me $78 to sue them. They're going to have to get their downtown lawyer to drive all the way to Anoka County. It's going to cost them $5,000. I got my $380. So I think pro se people can really make things happen. And I think I'm glad to hear we're on the same page with this. I want to test out some of these minimally viable strategies and see what can be done.
Awesome. I love that. And for those not listening, if you hadn't picked up already, pro se means you represent yourself and you don't have a lawyer. A lot of people don't know that. So we the lawyers, we take it for granted, all these Latin terms and stuff. So yeah. Anyway, well, thank you so much for coming on, Matthew. It was really a pleasure talking with you and hearing your story. And keep us posted on your efforts, and hopefully we'll be able to work together in the future.
Hope so, and I definitely will. Take care.
All right. Thank you. You too. Thanks for watching, y'all.